Now on Mississippi Insight, in a marathon special session called by Governor Tate Reeves, Mississippi legislators, they raced the clock to pass more than 100 bills shaping the state's $7.135 billion budget for fiscal year 2026, just ahead of the July 1st deadline. We'll hear from Speaker Jason White and Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann on what it meant to get the state budget passed before the July 1st deadline. That's all ahead this week on Mississippi Insight. I'm Byron Brown on broadcast and on podcast. Thank you for joining us for this June 1st edition of Insight. Mississippi lawmakers were back at the Capitol this time for a special session focused on one of the most critical tasks of the year, passing the state budget. With the July 1st deadline quickly approaching, legislators, they were working against the clock to finalize a $7.1 billion spending plan. And we talked with Speaker Jason White, the Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann, on what it meant to get the state budget passed before the July 1st deadline.
The dynamics surrounding House Bill 1. The House was never unhappy with House Bill 1. So you got to remember, my folks are pretty giddy about eliminating the personal income tax, cutting the grocery tax, fixing our roads and bridges, stop digging the hole at PERS. We think those are incredible wins. Any four, if they had been a standalone bill, would have been celebrated with bill signings at the governor's office and press conferences to get them all in one bill in one session. We think that's incredibly positive. So House members aren't walking around with a chip on their shoulder. I don't know what's going on the other end of the building. I talked to rank and file members on the other end of the building in the Senate, and they seem to sometimes not know what's going on down there. I'll let y'all talk to them, and they can have their say in whatever they say. We're perfectly fine with where the House positions have been on issues. Do I wish it could be more orderly and not so contentious? Certainly I do. But, you know, our governor says it often, and he's probably right. Politics tends to be a contact sport in our state. I do not desire that. I especially don't desire that among fellow Republicans. We should be pulling in the same direction. And unfortunately, the last couple of years on several things we hadn't. And you know, if I'm at fault for some of that and personalities are involved, then I'll take that fault. But I would submit to you, it's more about the issues and where some people want to go and where some people don't want to go. I hope this off season maybe is a chance, if there is a cooling off period there, for folks to see the incredible positive things that came from the session and maybe think, hey, this is going to be okay, and we move forward.
You talked about PERS and just how that got done, but if you're not done yet, you want to revisit that next session. How would you like to see, what are some options to have dedicated funding to the retirement system?
I think everything can be on the table from, I think you heard, we talked about it some during session. The governor talked it a little bit as he talked about potentially issuing this call for the special session, and then even in his press conference when he announced a special session. We don't think a one-time cash infusion does anything. Actuaries that rate our system, unless you're going to put $1, $2, or $3 billion there, that's going to grow it, that's going to generate income itself in the form of 7 or 8% interest. Now you're $2 or $3 billion. Now you're generating $100, $200, $300 million a year that actuaries will take into account as they rate our system. So unless you're going to go that big, which nobody around here has indicated a willingness to do that, even though we will have July 30th about $1.5 billion in the bank, not counting our rainy day fund at over $700 million. So we'll have $2 billion in the bank. Nobody has suggested doing that. So then you look at, okay, we're going to do legislation that it puts in law a dedicated stream of revenue. Actuaries will lend credence to that and figure that in as they make projections, if it's in law. What they won't do is figure in political whims at the end of every year. And that's where we seem to find ourselves. The Senate contends, oh, well, we wanted to put $100 million in again this year. That's like you're throwing it at a $20 or $30 billion hole. It does nothing. It's $100 million. It gives you a political talking point on a push card or in a speech, but it really does nothing. Let's talk about long-term sustainability. PERS isn't going broke next year. I'm worried about 10, 20, and 30 years from now. Now, if you say we're not going to institute any new tax to deal with that, which our local governments, that was the pushback 2 years ago when the PERS board said we're going to increase 10 points, go from 17 to or go from 19 to 29, whatever. They said, we can't do that. We can't do 10 cents. And that pushback was why the legislature stepped in, and that would have been in the spring of 23, and said, hold on a minute, PERS Board. We can't do 10 cents. Our local governments can't stand that. They'll have to change the way they deliver services or start laying people off. So when cooler heads prevailed there, we talked about a 5-cent increase staggered over some period of time. Then we eventually talked about 2.5% increase, 0.5% a year over 5 years. So they are getting new dedicated funding. They contend they need a little more. As we hope the PERS Board will look at their assumed rate of return and actually make it be a rate that reflects what the 10, 20, and 30-year average is, part of a large portion of the deficit comes from lowering that assumed rate of return as they did a couple years ago. And maybe they had their reasons. I want them to look long and hard at that, and we're going to look long and hard at a dedicated stream of revenue, whether it comes from a new fund source like the one we've identified in mobile sports betting that folks estimate would be anywhere from $40 to $80 million a year in state share of revenue. Now, Jason White doesn't wake up every morning wanting to legalize mobile sports gambling. But let's keep a few things in mind. We already have sports gambling as long as you're on property at one of our gaming establishments in the state. So it's already legal as long as you set a toe on the property. And we also know there is a very robust illegal online gaming activity going on in our state. Nobody's denying it. You can talk to anybody you want to. It goes on. Even our operators that operate legally tell you it's going on. Nobody knows the real business, just like it's tough to pin down how much the local drug trade is making. But they know it's going on, and it's robust, and it's a lot. Why wouldn't we try to figure out how to regulate that, bring it through our properties who are Mississippi businesses, our gaming establishments? You hadn't heard our Board of Trustees for gaming and casinos, or you hadn't heard almost any. You've heard 2 or 3 operators not want it, but by and large, all our operators in the state want it, and they actually do it in other states. They're not averse to it. Those are conversations to have with the state Senate. The House has passed it 3 times. But regardless of that, that would be a new potential identified stream of revenue that before the state got addicted to the general fund dollars of it, could go directly to funding that deficit. And the House was willing to do that. But if that's not the issue, if mobile sports betting is the terrible, awful thing that the Senate says it is, or I really don't know what they say because they've just killed the bill quietly in committee without so much as conversation. Whatever their reason is, if that's not the thing, what is the thing? Can we re-examine the way we do lottery proceeds? Can we look at interest on all of our deposits? I think last year we earned over $100 million in interest income on all funds we just have throughout state government that are on deposit somewhere. We earned about $125 million just on that. That could be a dedicated stream. Or we could simply say a percentage of state revenues over budget year number go there. There are lots of ways you could do it, but there's got to be political will to say, as a politician, somebody has to be willing to say, I won't be able to get my hands on that money. I won't be able to direct it. Folks won't have to come see me and beg me for that money. It'll go there automatically. Folks have to be willing to punch a button and vote for that. And I say that's the direction the House is going to try to take it next year in some of those forms. That's what they'll be looking at as the best way to do that.
This year, I'm head of the Legislative Budget Office. When I set the schedule this year, we're going to move up the budget negotiations. So if you're going to ghost me, you're going to have to ghost me more than 1 week. You're going to have to ghost me for 2 or 3 weeks. So we're going to start earlier on the budget. And transparency, is a big thing for us too. We sent out our information to our senators, Democrat and Republican, as soon as I got it from the budget office the other day. So I think transparency is good. I will tell you clearly, I have no intention of running a chickmunk machine in the Senate. So we're better than that. So we're not going to do that. And I'm hopeful that as we go forward, we won't have to have the last day dramatics that we've had in the past. It's time for us to get our work done. We've been really successful here the last few years. I mean, you look at how much debt we paid, how our education system has improved. We've done capacity projects all over Mississippi, and that's one of the things I want to continue to do is fund our new highways that we stopped this year. I think our community colleges and our universities need raises for our professors, or they're going to be stolen by Alabama or somebody. So our community colleges are really educating 75% of our workforce. We have to keep those professors there. They can make more money doing it in the private sector. So all of those are, I think, a common goal. I don't see really any pushback from that kind of thing. So the timing, yes, I intend to increase the timing so we don't have to go to the last week.
Coming up on Mississippi Insight, we'll hear from 4 Jackson mayoral candidates as voters plan to head to the polls Tuesday for the general election. And we'll be right back. Welcome back. With Election Day approaching, the race for Jackson mayor is heating up. In a series of exclusive one-on-one interviews, we'll hear directly from the candidates, their vision, priorities, and how they plan to address the city's biggest challenges, from crime and infrastructure to economic development. We're asking the questions that matter to you, the voters. Your top 3 priorities for the first 100 days.
First 100 days is going to be all about getting the foundation right. I'm the contractor by trade, and if we don't get the foundation right before we go vertical, it's not going to last. So we're going to be focusing on number 1 on relationships, number 2 ascertaining where we are from a financial standpoint, and then establishing priorities with the council so that as we move into a budget process in those first 100 days, we know the foundation for what we're trying to budget for.
How would you improve relationships with the state and federal government?
I think you have to look inward. I think we have to acknowledge what possibly we haven't done well in the past, where we may bear some blame for some of the issues that have caused some of that, some of the poor relationships, I'll put it that way. And if we will show some vulnerability, if we'll acknowledge what we haven't done well, if we will start demonstrating that we are handling the affairs of the city well, I think that credibility comes from that. And we have to also know that trust takes time. And as the capital city, it's not only an honor, but we have a responsibility to the state as the capital city. And we need to be looking to the state as how we can assist them and not always be looking for what they can do for us.
How do you improve basic city services?
I'm a contractor by trade, and it's all about project management. And we have to start with assess the problem, develop the plan, implement the plan, recognize most often that your plan's not perfect, adjust it, and see things through to completion. And it's through work order systems that we use all the time in property management and facility management. Put the plan in place, assess the need, and have systems by which where we can hold those responsible for those services accountable.
Why should the citizens of Jackson vote you to be the next mayor?
I feel like my resume stacks up well for it. 20 years small business owner, 9 years in senior management of corporate America, having served 2 terms in municipal government where I had the opportunity to see how municipal government done well operates, and to see some of the stresses, some of the strains that are there. But we also, 30 years ago, I was part of teams that were building sewage treatment facilities, that were implementing pavement management systems, that were concerned about and being sure that our community stayed safe. And so that package of experience from a business and municipal standpoint, I think bodes well for me as Mayor Jackson.
What are your first top 3 priorities for the first 100 days?
Well, we've got to restore trust and accountability for the taxpayers with their city government, as well as with our governmental partners. We have to also develop the expectation of basic services being met and fulfilled by the city of Jackson to its residents and its visitors. The third thing we've got to do is put together a comprehensive plan that lets us know where we're headed. The old saying, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. Jackson is in that state right now. We need a comprehensive plan that all citizens can take part in and help develop.
How will you improve relationships with the state and federal partners?
Well, first of all, we've got to improve relations with our taxpayers. And then we've got to improve the relationship between the city and the county. Following that, we've got to improve the relationships with the state and then the federal government. I have relationships already with the county. I have relationships already with the state. I have relationships already with the federal government.
How will you improve basic city services?
Well, I think the first thing is we got to put a good team of people together who know how to run government at the local level. The next thing we've got to do is to retrain and refocus with a common vision our city workers who are going to be delivering those basic services to our citizens. There's got to be a focus on customer service. There's got to be a focus on getting answers that people are asking, answers to questions that people are asking, where it doesn't take you all day. You don't get to run around. Folks answer the phone.
Why should you be voted the next mayor of Jackson?
I have the most experience. I have the most relationships, the best relationships with county, state, and federal officials. I have a track record of accomplishment that has put projects in the ground, and I have probably the best team of folks already that's positioning us to be the next leader of Jackson.
Still to come on Mississippi Insight, we'll hear from 2 more Jackson mayoral candidates who are vying to be the next leader of the city of Seoul. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Now we are hearing from the final 2 candidates vying to be Jackson's next mayor. Here's what they had to say about their vision for the city, their priorities, and how they plan to address the city's biggest challenges. What are your your top 3 priorities for your first 100 days?
My first 3 priorities, number 1 is taking care of our youth. Our youth need encouragement. Our youth need stability. We want to make sure our youth have a quality education. And then we want to look at infrastructure. The potholes are ridiculous in Jackson. I'm a mayor that's going to be specific in making sure we take care of each community, not just one community, but all the communities in Jackson.
How would you improve relationships with the state and the federal government?
I'm a people person. I've been in business for over 48 years. I've had interaction with my parents. I have a doctorate degree in counseling. I'm able to communicate with people, and that's the key. We must communicate. We must talk to each other. And once we sit at the table, talk to each other, find our strength, find our weaknesses, and we come together and for the good of the people, for the good of the citizens of Jackson.
How are you going to improve basic city services?
Basic city service is so important. Once again, I will call my cohorts to the table, members of the city council, a representative from each homeowner association. We need a youth representative. We want their input, what they would like to see changed in Jackson. So we'll be open to them. Our office will be open so that we can do some things in the city that people have never thought could be done right here in Mississippi.
Why should the citizens of Jackson elect you to be the next mayor?
I have a love for the people. Number 1, I have a love for the people. I want unity in the city, and I want togetherness. And people that know me know I'll go out of my way to make sure the children, the elderly, and of course animals have a great quality of life. So elect me, and you will see a change, because the Word of God says God is doing a new thing, and I'm glad to be a part of it. So elect me on June the 3rd, and you're not gonna forget it. You're not gonna be surprised on what I can do with God's help.
What are your top 3 priorities for your first 100 days?
Accessibility, accountability, and affordability for every resident. We start doing that by hiring a public works director. We start by allowing JPD to do what they need to do. Let's get that memorandum of understanding with Capitol Police signed and back to them so that we can start working together. And let's start cutting simple things like making sure permit processes are smooth. Let's eliminate business licensing fees. Let's start letting people do business in the city of Jackson without any hurdles. Let's start enforcing state law instead of trying to write ordinances that are redundant. Day 1, we're going to allow public records requests to be free. Anything that doesn't take up more than a couple hours of our time, you're not going to have to pay for it. We're going to start putting things immediately up on the website, and we're going to start building a mobile app as well.
How will you improve relationships between the state and federal government?
By not being a liar and a thief. Right now, the state does not trust us because we lie and we steal. So under his Act Service Administration, what we do with our money is going to be public. It's going to be out front. I'm already having conversations with state leaders, and we're going to continue to build fresh relationships that are not based on what happened before, but based on transparency now. And I think when they see that what I say is what I do and what the city says is what the city does, they're going to give us whatever money we ask for because they're going to know it's going to go to good use.
How will you improve basic city services?
For one, by spending the money that the council allocates and going for the best bids, not for who's my best friend. We're going to have to make sure that we're hiring qualified leaders, qualified employees. Again, I'm already interviewing civil engineers. I'm interviewing people for the 911 dispatch center. That's a huge area we're lacking in right now, in professionalism. We're going to restructure the city employee organizational chart. And I've already received support from 2 incumbent council people with my agenda for that. We're going to start taking things that are simple and creating simple solutions with what we have right now, not another dollar needed.
Why should Jackson voters elect you to be the next mayor?
Well, for one, I hope by now you're tired of the same old problems just recycled and the same old solutions and platitudes. You ask a question, they tell you we need to do this instead of how you're actually going to do it. I'm the only candidate with a comprehensive plan that's up on my website. It's front-facing for everything from crime and infrastructure to homelessness, youth, workforce and economic development, and even supporting seniors, veterans, and animal control, which is non-existent right now. Everybody's only main concern is my age. And all of my opponents, Mr. Horn, Mr. DePriest, Ms. Robinson, they were all about 26 years old when they started in their roles. I'm 27, so I've got a leg up on them anyway.
Jackson Republican mayoral candidate Kenneth G. was not able to do a one-on-one interview with us, but he sent us a statement stating, "I'm running for mayor because Jackson deserves leadership that listens, leads with integrity, and puts people first. Like many of you, I've witnessed our city's challenges, rising homelessness, a growing mental health crisis, public safety concerns, and economic instability. I couldn't sit on the sidelines any longer. I'm stepping up because I believe we can do better, and I know that together we will," end quote. We'll be right back. If you have comments or questions about today's show or a suggestion for an interview or segment, just drop us a line, email our producers. The address is news@WJTV.com. We'll be back next weekend with more of the political coverage that you demand. Thanks for joining us. I'm Byron Brown. Make it a great weekend.